Who are you? And where are you going? What do you want?
Hello and welcome to People Making Money. I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and we're here every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time to talk about all matters related to career, professions, businesses, wealth building, the whole financial realm of our lives. And today, for those of you who saw any of the social media posts or you get my emails, you saw that my topic is adapt or founder. To founder is a Navy term, and it means the boat has basically sort of gotten swamped, and it's not able to move forward the way it's meant to. And it is interesting that this topic happens to be coming up today. If you've been following the news, or especially the business news, so there's been yesterday, the big headline in the Wall Street Journal was this. Well, it's a headline again today in the Wall Street Journal. DeepSeek. So this is an AI that was built by China, and it's taken the tech world by storm because it's able to do what ChatGPT and other AI models do, but with at a much lower cost because it uses much simpler microchips and all of that. And so the idea is that because the cost of building and using an AI using this open source model, and that's what DeepSeek is. It's open source. That means anybody can access it and use its code. It will dramatically drive down the cost of AI and make it more financially feasible to adopt. So what I'm going to be talking about today is some of the ways that I've been using ChatGPT in my business, and it's been an enormous time saver. That I will say that, and I do find that the results that I get are very accurate, but I will temper that by saying there's a reason why I can make that assessment that's apart from ChatGPT itself. So I want to say just another minute on DeepSeek, and that is, I've read the various things about it, listened to someone talking about it. It just seems to me a little bit strange that people are assuming that it is what it is. I'm not exactly sure, how they verified that it's running on these inexpensive chips as opposed to the expensive NVIDIA design chips that are made by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. I think it is TSCM. So I will say I'm still waiting to have someone who understands more about DeepSeek than I do explain to me why we should believe that it is what it is, aside from the open source code, which is how the AI itself works. But in terms of how it was built and such, I don't know. I'm not enough of I'm not a coder. I'm not enough of a tech expert. But I have a certain amount of natural skepticism. My dad was born in St. Louis, Missouri, the show me state. So maybe I come by it naturally, as they say. But in any event, I'm going to be working with ChatGPT, which is what I've been using now for the last, I'm not even sure, probably about a year now, or at least 9 months, and show you some of the things that I've done with it that have been real time savers to me. I guess the term du jour is hacks, but I don't know. For my generation, a hack was someone who doesn't really do a good job. So I tend not to use that term. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring up Chat GPT. So you should be seeing, and I'm gonna open it up here. So there you go. So okay, so this is this is the basic Chat GPT. Now I use the free version of Chat GPT. I've never paid a penny for using it, and you can see some of the past things I've done here. And I use it a lot, especially in planning and writing my various shows, because it's like having a staff writer, basically, only one that can write and type super fast. So you see here is where you put in essentially your query, and you can have it create an image. Now, I've tried the image creator a few times, but what it creates sort of almost avatarish type images. I haven't found them useful at all in any of the things that I've done. For example, I asked it to create a logo for an organization that I'm building. Frankly, didn't like the results. Tried several different ways of querying to get the image I wanted. Didn't work. Ended up designing the image myself on Canva. So make a plan. So one of the ways that I've used ChatGPT that's been very useful is in coming up with topics for my particular show. So I do a show on Trust and Estates every Monday at 10 a.m. And one of the queries I did quite some time ago were, please give me 20 ideas on topics related to, and by the way, you actually don't have to spell correctly for it. It pretty much figures it out. Topics related to probate and trusts. Okay. And then that's all you do. And now it's going to spit out. So probate, what is a probate? How to avoid probate. So it's going to give a list of 20. Okay. Well, I guess it's going to give 10 on each. And you will note, by the way, if you were to go back to my various shows that I did, you will see that these lists that it's given, I've covered, I think, all of these topics. Now, not necessarily under the name that they've described them, but it covered all of these various issues. So you can see that it's very effective in coming up with in this case topics that are highly relevant to the subject at hand, right? So in fact, just this week, I did a second show on special needs trusts, for example. I've done things on asset protection, how to fund a trust. So all of the, trustee responsibilities. And I've done one on trust versus will, revocable versus irrevocable, living trust. So all of these topics, I think I just saw one. I've never done one on dynasty trusts. So there you go. It found a topic that I hadn't done one on. But it's very useful if you're doing that kind of planning. And then if you want more, you can say, please give me 20 more. Okay. Oops, I put more, but it's gonna, here you go. See, 20 more. Okay. And there, see, it's just gonna like spit them out. Okay, and again, if you look at these, so what happens to digital assets in probate? I've done a show on that. Joint ownership, how does that work? Probate versus non-probate assets. I've done a show on that. I've done a show on the role of probate courts, right? So again, it's coming up with topics that are very relevant. Okay, and pour over wills and trusts. Okay, how Medicaid trust can protect. So I've done some of these as well. So from the standpoint of planning, it's very very efficient. Okay, so let's go back to the years. So analyze images. I've never done any coding because I don't know how to code. So I guess I could say, write a code to do the following. But I do something not unlike that. So, and here's some, okay, so here's one: summarize text or help me write. These are two that I use quite a bit. So in my show, Business Lessons from the Military, periodically I talk about classic military texts that I've read and distill from them business lessons. So for example, I did a show on The Art of War by Sun Tzu, perhaps the best known military text in history. And I've read the book. Now, here's where I was talking about how uh, uh, being able to know if ChatGPT is accurate. I wouldn't just simply rely on ChatGPT per se. So for example, when it's somewhere here in the list, but rather than going through it, I'll just put the query back in so you can see how quickly it works. So what are the key business lessons one can learn from Sun Tzu's The Art of War? Okay, now it's going to spit them out. Okay, and now how do I know that this is accurate, right? Because sometimes ChatGPT will in essence make stuff up. Okay, so the way I know that it's accurate is because I've read the book. Okay, and so I know what the book has talks about, and so in reviewing what ChatGPT has done, because I have read the book, so I know whether it's giving me an accurate summary. Now, why use ChatGPT to do the summary or to pull out ideas? Because it can do it it can type faster than I can, right? Let alone distill out from the book. If I had to do this myself, it would take me probably the better part of 2 hours, whereas ChatGPT did it in a minute or less, right? And so that's where it's such a time saver and is such a valuable tool. Okay, and it is very good at sifting out ideas. So here's another book that I've just recently finished reading, and I'm actually, I've got another 60 pages to go, but I'm reading The Bostonians by Henry James. Okay, classic work of literature from the late 19th century. I think it was written in 1886, and it's about it's about the interplay of people, some of whom were very committed to expanding rights for women, and one of whom was not, basically. So it's the clash between those two camps, if you will. Okay, and so if I wanted to, I could get the key ideas, or the key, what are the key points made, oops, in Henry James's The Bostonians. And I'm a stickler for spelling, but I wouldn't have had to have corrected the spelling, right? Okay, and okay, yeah, 1886. Okay. Okay, and you can see them here. Now, having read the book, again, I know whether uh, these points are accurate. So the conflict between old and new America, the novel contrasts traditional Southern conservatism, represented by Basil Ransom, with Northern progressive ideals embodied by Oliver Chancellor and her feminist associates. And that's absolutely 100% accurate. Okay, feminism and women's rights. Olive Chancellor is deeply involved in the women's movement and becomes obsessed with Verena Tarrant, whom she shapes into a powerful feminist speaker. Again, absolutely correct. Personal versus political struggles. The central struggle is not just ideological, but it's personal. Olive sees Verena as a disciple, while Basil Ransom sees her as a romantic partner. The fight over Verena represents the larger societal debate over women's roles. Again, spot on. Manipulation and control. Both Olive and Basil exert control over Verena, raising questions about power dynamics and relationships, whether personal or political. Again, absolutely accurate. And ambiguity and anyway, so on. I'm not going to go through all of it, but it's if you and for high school students and such, this would probably be considered cheating, right? But the reality is, if you are a teacher and maybe you read the Bostonians 20 years ago or 10 years ago, and you don't have time to reread the book, ChatGPT will give you a summary of the key points that the book makes. And then if you give your students an assignment to read the book and write an essay summarizing the key points, well, so then here you've got a list of 7 that you can use in order to determine how well the essays were written. And again, saves you tremendous amount of time, right? If you had to reread the book and write this list yourself, the book is about 400 pages long, at least the edition I have. So you're talking right there, depending on how fast you read, somewhere between 10 and 15 to 20 hours to read it, and then probably another hour or two to summarize the ideas from it. And I dare say that the way ChatGPT summarizes these ideas is it's so tight, it's so concise, and it's so on point that one would be hard pressed to write this in a first draft. Rather, this is probably something that would come from a second or third draft minimum. Okay, so its ability to summarize a book, or for that matter, I've never tried this here. Let's try something different. Please summarize the Wall Street Journal's article about DeepSeek. Article on 28 January 2025 about DeepSeek. Let's just see what we get here. See if it'll do it. Okay, there you go. I mean, it's wild, right? And okay, so it's a DeepSeek was developed AMI, the rivals top at a lower cost without the need for those. So okay, so it's telling you, exactly what I just told you a few minutes ago. The breakthrough has raised concerns about the effectiveness of U.S. imports on tech. Okay, that's true. The article also discusses how DeepSeek's advancements led to a sell-off in U.S. stocks. Yes, especially Nvidia lost like 17% of its market capitalization when the news about DeepSeek broke. Right. in response to DeepSeek's progress, U.S. policymakers are debating whether to maintain or tighten export restrictions on technologies like semiconductors, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this is a good summary, and evidently it did have. This was one of my concerns: is would it have access to the article, or because the Wall Street Journal has much of its content behind a firewall, but evidently it does. So again, if and the article, by the way, is much longer than this. So if you don't have time to read it, another good use for ChatGPT is to have it summarize items in the news, so that you can read about them more quickly without having to read the whole article. Now, I will say that you need to keep an eye on the publications from which it's drawing its news source, so that you have a sense of what kind of bias there is in the in the particular in those sources and in the summary that ChatGPT may be writing. So, for example, Wall Street Journal. People think of it as being a conservative publication, and certainly the opinion page is right of center. But the news page, and this article was in the news page, and that part of the Wall Street Journal is left of center to, in some cases, pretty far left of center, right? So, what we might do is compare this to Fox News's reporting on DeepSeek. So let's see what it says for that. And okay. So there you go. It gives and so this is, again, this you could use it, and you could put in the different news sources that you want, and it'll essentially give you a summary of of that particular issue. And in this case, and this is what it'll do sometimes, it'll give you two versions, and you can let it know which one you prefer, and that will train ChatGPT to better give you what you want, right? So this one right here, it's looking at what was said on Fox News, Fox News Radio, foxnews.com, foxnews.com. Okay, over here, it starts out with the Wall Street Journal, okay, and then it gives you the New York Post, Fox Business News, okay. So I don't know. I think for me, I would prefer this one because it gives me more sources, a broader variety of sources, right? And it says, in Fox News's coverage of DeepSeek has been more critical and cautionary. Palmer Luckey expressed skepticism over DeepSeek's claims, suggesting the U.S. media uncritically reported the company's assertion and warning against potential CCP, that's basically the Chinese Communist Party propaganda designed to undermine American tech companies. So there was that point that I raised a little, at the beginning of the show, right? So as a news aggregator that will cover, the items in the news that you specifically want to know about, again, ChatGPT, I think, does a great job. Okay, so summarizing, gathering, information from various sources and giving you a cogent write-up of them. That is one of the things that ChatGPT is quite good at. Okay, so I promised 3 time savers. I'm actually going to do 4 because I didn't plan on doing the planning one that I started out with, but I went ahead and did that as a freebie. So okay, so that's okay. So now let's go back to the beginning, and the next one I want to show you is. So on Thursdays, every other Thursday, I do a show called Jiggers's Place. It's at 5 p.m. on Thursday, right? Shameless plug. It'll be this week. I'll be doing the show. I'm going to be talking about the book Ivanhoe, okay, which is a wonderful adventure tale written by Sir Walter Scott, okay, and I can assure you, I will be using ChatGPT to write a summary of the book for me because, again, it'll do it in a minute versus, the hour or two that it would take me to do it. But where I use ChatGPT most often in my show, Jiggers' Place anyway, is it is my cocktail creator. So it designed a cocktail. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay, here you go. So I asked it to write, not write. So I said, here, please create a cocktail reminiscent of Ivanhoe. Now, I misspelled Ivanhoe. I just read, right? And it created something called the Ivanhoe Elixir, right? And it starts out with single malt Scotch whiskey. Now, that relates to the fact that Ivanhoe takes place in Scotland. It adds to it mead or honey wine, nodding to the medieval times. Add some dry vermouth for elegance and complexity. We're talking about knights and chivalry and castles and the aristocracy in England, all of that. Okay, some fresh lemon juice to brighten the flavors. Okay, some Angostura bitter for depths and spice. And I don't know about you, but I always think of the Scottish moors and the Highlands and the Lowlands. They have sort of a spicy sense to them, right? And a sprig of rosemary to evoke the woodlands of England. There you go. So this sounds to me like it's going to be a nice cocktail. Interestingly enough, this is the first cocktail it's designed for me or created for me that uses Scotch whiskey as a base. Oftentimes it uses gin or some I think it used rum. Now, so let's have it design a cocktail for us. So please create a cocktail that is evocative of AI using, let's make it a tequila cocktail. And you can tell it to not unsing, using tequila as its base. So if you, in this case, we'll have it make a tequila based cocktail. So let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so here's a futuristic tequila-based cocktail inspired by AI, sleek, complex, and full of unexpected depth. Okay, there you go. So, okay, so this is what it came up with: 2 ounces of silver tequila. Okay, so that's the base tequila, crisp, clean base. A half ounce of blue curacao, evoking circuits and neon aesthetics. So blue curacao has an almost neon blue appearance. So if you put it in tequila, it's going to make it a bright blue color. Okay, a half ounce of Italicus or elderflower liqueur. Okay, for complexity, some lime juice for a bright acidity. A quarter ounce of agave syrup. There's a sweetness to agave, of course, and it gives it a smooth balance. And then a dash of saline solution, in other words, salt water, basically, to enhance flavors. And then 1 small piece of dry ice, optional for futuristic effect. Now, if you're familiar with how dry ice works, right? If you drop it into a liquid, it starts to bubble and blow off a steam, basically, right? And it looks like, if those pictures of laboratories where mad scientists are doing things, right? So I think this looks pretty good. It sounds, I think so. It's not unlike a margarita, it's going to have the same similar flavors. So a margarita is, as you may be aware, is tequila, an orange liqueur of some kind. It could be just triple sec, which is an orange liqueur. It could be um, Cointreau, which is a French orange-based liqueur. Blue Curacao is also an orange-based liqueur, right? So it's got the first two ingredients of a margarita, and lime juice is the other ingredient for a margarita. Now, in this case, there's a little bit of this elderflower liqueur. I don't know what elderflower liqueur tastes like. I haven't been able to find a kosher one. But certainly this is going to be reminiscent of a margarita. The agave will give a little sweetness to it, so it's kind of like a futuristic margarita, perhaps. So well done, ChatGPT, on designing cocktails. Now, my bartender friends would probably poo-poo this, and they would say, well, ChatGPT has no sense of taste, so it doesn't know how it's going to combine all these things and whether it's going to taste good. That is true. I've had, ChatGPT design, I want to say maybe about 10 cocktails for me over the last several months. And I will say that they've ranged from good to outstanding. Okay, none of them have been bad. So now, if you know how an AI works, really what these are, they're called large language models. And what they do is they gather data from basically everywhere in the internet that they can find, and they figure out, in essence, what is the next most likely word after they give you whatever word it is. So it's not surprising that when I asked for a cocktail using tequila, that what it came up with is similar to a margarita with some other things that are evocative of AI, right? And by the way, a tequila is a very simple cocktail, classic cocktail, pretty hard to mess it up, and so it's using very common models, then it's cocktail models that it's then modifying a little bit. And so I think that's why I found that it creates consistently good to very good, even outstanding cocktails. So if you've ever watched Jigger's Place, you see my reaction to the various cocktails, because I don't make them ahead of the show. I make them for the first time on the show so that you can get my genuine reaction to the quality of the cocktail. And you'll see there's some where I have trouble putting it down, and others where I sip it through the show and it's good, but it's not one that I can't put down. Okay, so as a designer for cocktails, if you're going to have a party, let's say at the office, and you want to do something unique in terms of cocktail or food, so let's say you're a law firm. So I'm always polite with ChatGPT. I don't know why. I guess it's because my mother. Please give me some food ideas for a party by a law firm. Okay. So there you go. Appetizers and finger foods. Okay. So these are all, so these are all kind of standard things there. They already, they already exist. Okay. And then there you go. It's giving you ideas for beverages. Okay. Now please create an hors d'oeuvre. Okay, we'll call it an appetizer. An appetizer that evokes the balance of justice, the balance of justice. Okay, please create an appetizer. Please create, here, I'm going to make it a vegetarian appetizer that evokes the balance of justice. There you go. Okay. Scales of justice, a balanced, there you go, right? And there it is, and it created it for you, right? So this elegant appetizer symbolizes the balance by pairing contrasting yet complementary flavors and textures. Each serving features 2 distinct elements on a single skewer or plate. Okay, so ingredients: savory side, mini puff pastry squares or crostini, whipped goat cheese or cashew cheese for a vegan option, roasted balsamic glazed mushrooms, and microgreens for garnish. And then the sweet side: fresh pear slices or figs, honey drizzle, toasted walnuts or candied pecans, blue cheese crumbles. Okay, and then it shows you how to assemble them. Create the base. Place a mini puff pastry square on one side and a fresh pear or fig on the other. Balance the topping. So it explains to you how to do it. So see, you can make it your catering designer as well. This is the first time I asked it to design food, but I think it's very clever on how it comes up with these. Now, are these going to taste good? Yeah, I think they are. So for example, whipped goat cheese and pears or figs, I've had that before. Really good, right? Roasted balsamic glazed mushrooms, frankly, sounds delicious. And I could imagine those mixed with some toasted walnuts or candied pecans, because the balsamic glaze will go well with these nuts, and they would probably work well with the blue cheese crumbles as well, right? So you can see that however ChatGPT created these, they did a nice job, and it's something that you could count on, that I think your a guest at your party would really like. So I know we passed the holiday season already last month, but if you really want to do something different, so ChatGPT can help you with that. So it's a great creator for things like cocktails, appetizers. I'm sure it would even create recipes for you if you asked it to. Okay, so that's number 3. Now I'm going to do one more. Okay, and I don't know why it doesn't want to. Come on, let's. There you go. Okay, now this is one, and if you saw my show a week or 2 ago, where I talked about a new way to build relationships based on data. So over last year, I substantially revamped the way that I look at the quality of my relationships, and I developed a whole system for not only determining the quality of the relationships I have, but to incentivize me to build higher quality relationships going forward. And and a lot of it is based on a kind of a rating scale that relates to the 3 pillars of attainment. Okay, so if you are working on any kind of Excel spreadsheet, one of the things I found is Excel is an enormously powerful tool, but you have to know how to build the formulas. And doing so through the Excel help function can take forever. So what I discovered is ChatGPT will write an Excel formula for virtually, if you can come up with what you want Excel to figure out, ChatGPT will create the formula, and you'll be able to copy and paste it right into your Excel spreadsheet. So the example I'm going to do here is for a teacher. Let's say that you're a teacher grading papers, okay, and you want to, you're going to grade maybe on a scale, okay. So um, please build an Excel formula as follows. 0 to 40 gives an F. 41 to, let's say, 60 gives a D. Okay. 61, oops, not 601, 61 to 80 gives a C. And let's see, where am I? Okay, so 81 to 90 gives a B, and 91 to 100 gives an A. Okay, let's see what it comes up with. Okay, now right here, see, it lets you copy the formula. Okay, and let me get I'm going to get an Excel spreadsheet. Oops, where is it? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to paste this. Actually, let me do it another way. I'm going to bring up a Google Doc spreadsheet. Okay, sheets. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Blank spreadsheet. Okay. Excuse me. Now, let me just, I'm going to drop the formula in. Okay. So I'm going to switch out so you can see the Google spread. You can see how it developed the formula. Okay. So now I'm going to bring up the other screen so you can see the Google spreadsheet. Here we go. Okay, so here's the spreadsheet. Now here you'll see, here's the formula that ChatGPT created. Okay, so if you were making a grade sheet, this would be grade. Okay, this would be score. Oops. Okay. Oh, okay. I see. All right. So what I need to do is modify it. So B2 is what? B2. Okay. So the A1 is where it's taking the score from. So that just needs to be updated. Okay. Otherwise it's A. Okay, there you go. Okay, so so you've got the grade, you've got the score, okay, and there you go. Okay, let's say and by the way, you could put in, of course, the student's name. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so let's say that one student got a score of 66. Okay, see, it gave you a C. Now, what you can do is, for your grade sheet is, let's say you've got 36 students, so you should be able to fill down. So this is why I don't like I don't like Google Docs, because it's not as useful as I guess there is no fill up or down function here. Cut, paste, delete, find, view. Okay, well, if you were doing this on Excel, so let's, oops. Okay, so if you were doing this on Excel, you wouldn't have to do this for each, oops, shoot. You wouldn't have to do this for each cell, but I can't get it. So, okay, so then, so now you have, let's say you just have 10, we'll do 10 students, okay? And let's say another student got a score of 88, and another student got a score of 79, and another student got a score of 36, okay, and 95, and 49, and 23, and 70, and 23. Okay, so I did 23 twice. Okay, whatever. So you can see that when you put in the scores, it automatically creates the grade. So if you were to set up your grade sheet as an Excel spreadsheet, right, all you need to do is fill in the scores, and now the grade sheet is done. And again, you've saved it. Now, this is actually a fairly simple thing for it to do, but any kind of, oh no, those are alignment. Okay, any kind of set of calculations you want it to do, ChatGPT will write the formula. Okay. Now, and by the way, if I'm not going to go back to ChatGPT, but you could, if you want to, then please give me a formula to calculate the average of several numbers. Okay, so let's say you want, you want it to calculate the average. Okay, so it created the formula. Okay, I'm going to bring it over here. Okay, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, now you can see it's A1 through A5. That's not where it is. We need B2. We need to put in B2 to B10, and there you go. It gave you the formula for doing that. And interesting, as I think about it, as much as I've used Excel spreadsheets, I never knew that you could just use this function equals average for the group of numbers, right? It certainly makes sense. I never knew that you could do that, right? So that works. It's works out really well, really fast to do that, rather than scrolling through all of the potential formulas that you can do in Excel. In less than a minute, ChatGPT will write the formula for it, and you just click copy, you insert it into your spreadsheet, and you're done. So it really unleashes the power of Excel. And I to be honest, I haven't tried it for other software programs, but for my money, ChatGPT is the best software user guide you will ever find. Okay, and the reality is, the proof is going to be in the pudding. So if what ChatGPT generates does what you need it to do, then ChatGPT did it, right? You don't have to worry about, oh, it picked up some data or gave you some kind of something that turned out to be false. You're going to know whether it's false or not. And because you'll see if it's meeting the criteria for writing the formula that you input. So those are I said 3 in my promo, but those are my 4 time savers for ChatGPT. I cannot encourage you enough to start using this tool. People who use it are going to become much more productive, and they are going to have a competitive advantage. That's all there is to it. I mean, I don't know your individual businesses, so I can't say for sure if any of the specific examples I've given you will apply to what you do or to your profession. But all I did was I just started playing with ChatGPT and just making queries, and gosh, I wonder if it can do this, I wonder if it can do that. I used it just yesterday, I believe it was. So on one of the probate cases that I'm working on, a judge denied a petition, and I had been told by one of the lawyers involved that I had as the personal representative of the estate, I had a statutory right to petition for what I petitioned for. And I assumed that the lawyer was correct. I didn't ask him to cite the probate code section. Went to ChatGPT, said, what's the California probate code section that allows for the following? In this case, it was a waiver of an appraisal by a probate referee, and it gave me the probate code section 8903 part B, and it listed out the criteria that a request for waiver had to meet. And frustratingly enough, the petition I had submitted met all of those qualifications in spades, except for the judge agreeing to it. So, but that gave me the confidence to go back to the lawyer and say, okay, because of what's going on, the judge gave us leave to resubmit the petition because she denied it without prejudice, which means we can refile it. So now we have to do it because there's new facts that have come alive. So ChatGPT is kind of my my law clerk. I wouldn't say it's my paralegal per se. I've never tried to have it write a legal document, although I suspect it could do a pretty good job. Maybe my legal researcher is better, and it's not the first time I've used ChatGPT to do some legal research. Now, I always double check when ChatGPT quotes like a section of a statute. I go to the statute and look up and to see if what ChatGPT told me is indeed what the statute is there, because then I know the basis that it's drawing from is correct. So I do that double check, but that's a lot faster than pouring through, in this case, the probate code, trying to find that particular issue in the probate code. So again, ChatGPT is a time saver. It's a productivity booster, and I cannot encourage you enough to start using it. So that's what I have for you today on People Making Money. I hope you enjoyed it. Thoughts, comments, criticisms, always welcome. All the links to my social media will be in the show notes after the show posts on my YouTube channel. Feel free to comment. Feel free to contact me. My email address is there as well. And tomorrow, I've already mentioned this, is my final show for this week, Jiggers' Place. We're going to have a cocktail, the Ivanhoe Elixir, designed by ChatGPT, as I mentioned already. And we're going to talk about the great adventure tale by Sir Walter Scott, Ivanhoe. So it'll be hopefully a lovely way to move toward the end of the week. And I invite you at 5 p.m. Thursday to join me at Jiggers' Place. And then next week at 10 a.m. Monday is my show, Trusts and Estates Weekly. And my guest is Katie Ott, and she's going to be talking about religious obligations in estate planning. So I invite you to join me to join Katie Ott and me, and I think it's going to be a fascinating show. On Tuesday at 10 a.m. is my show, Business Lessons from the Military. We're going to be talking about one of the greatest leaders of all time, Winston Churchill, who had an absolutely mind-blowing military career. Most people don't think of him as a military man. They know him as prime minister and first lord of the admiralty and such. But he had a military career prior to his political career. And we're going to talk about that and what ideas there are, what business lessons there are from that. And then a week from today, we'll be back for the next edition of People Making Money. So thanks again for joining me, especially to my guests who join me live. Always appreciate having you on board. And signing off as I always do, Marie, darling, you are my belle. Courage at all times, my friends.